Hi. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, you know, when and wherever you are listening to me. Okay. Again, before I start to talk about what I'm going to talk about, I want you to understand that these are my opinions. They are based on the facts that I process, so to speak. And hence, whenever you listen to me or to anyone else, really, even someone that you might think you can absolutely trust in, I would advise you to try and fact check it. And again, fact checking is basically, if we are going to go to a very simple level, at the social media level, to see for yourself. So if someone talks about an event, you go to the local news, you go to the national news, you go to the international news, if they are living in a country that does not have trustworthy news. So if you want to know something about France, for example, there are several French channels that also broadcast in English, like for example, France 24. This is just an example. You also have Euronews. It also contains some French news, Euro news, European news, and you can go there, you know. And even other channels in Europe talk about France in the international news segment. And also, you should not take your news from things like Facebook, like X, uh, or even some parts of YouTube, okay, and Reddit and TikTok, because those are media entertainment. They are not media news. Media news are news that are broadcasted according to the laws of the country they are broadcasted in. In this case, in France, they also have a strong fake news and misinformation act. This was one of the reasons for example, that guy from Telegram got arrested, and why Mr. Musk is also being scrutinized, and who knows what will happen in the future. Okay, just have my coffee. Good coffee. Now, this said, I'm going to address a recent conspiracy theory that has risen in American media, in which I found so hilarious and so stupid, frankly, that I think it was worth being mentioned here. And today I will maybe talk about two or three conspiracy theories. Let's say three, so the video is not that long. Now, this conspiracy theory says that the French government is falling. Well, the government didn't fall. The government was put out of its misery by Parliament because it could not pass laws in Parliament. So, what is happening right now? Now they are forming a new government, which is something that for anyone would have two or three fingers in comprehension of the world would know it's absolutely normal in a normal democracy. But okay, the French government has fallen. The French GDP has been heavily reduced. Yes, it has. The French economy is undergoing the same structural problems related to the war in Ukraine. That's just next door, if you don't know that. And that has been increasing the price of things like, for example, uh, energy, which is used to, well, to pretty much everything. Okay. But if you are going to talk about financial solvency and financial stability, well, France is pretty much a stable country. Okay, just saying. Just like Germany, just saying. But let's continue. Because we don't have abysmal amounts of debt, like for example the United States has. Or if you look across the pond, you will see the United Kingdom, where their debt has even surpassed their gross production. So GDP, like I have said in often in other videos, GDP is merely indicative. Okay, it says, for example, that you are spending more than you are earning. This is basically the economical function of GDP, and also to determine the value of your currency. And if you don't know this, again, Americans, France and Germany both use the euro. So when you are going to analyze the value of their currency, the value of their GDP in these terms, okay, not the gross value, the value of their GDP, you are going to have to analyze each and every country of Europe and then make up your own assessment. Portugal's GDP, for example, I think it's set to be 1.2 to 1.3%. But for example, our own government's assessment says it will be almost 2%. And the IMF actually agrees with us. But as you can see, the proof is in the pudding. Only when this fiscal year ends will you see how much it really increases or not increases or decreases or whatever. But let's continue. But I'm analyzing this, processing it word by word. Secondly, the conspiracy theory says, how is it possible that they were able to steal things from the Louvre, which is uh, the most guarded museum in the world? Well, this one is pretty easy to answer to. Don't you know that criminals study those security systems, find out failures or find out loopholes and use them to rob? Don't you know that's their function? Don't you know that they are professional? Don't you know they maybe spent days, weeks, perhaps even years studying the best way of doing that robbery? And don't you understand that every system has a failure? Every system. Look, I've been saying this for years, but the first time I started to work with a computer, I'm 50 years old, okay? It was maybe when I was around 6 or 7 years old. I remembered it as clear as day today. It was an IBM. My father bought it both as a computer for our business, for accounting, for everything, okay, for work, and also to allow us in in this sense, only me and my older brother, my other, let's just say, to also play a little with it and learn a little with it. So it was great, man. You know, playing Golden Axe, okay, playing NBA, the first NBA games. I like it. I always liked the basketball, even though I'm not a very not a tall guy at all. Okay, even if I'm not a tall guy at all, I always liked basketball, playing it. I played it in school. Our team was even number three at the regional level. So I was the one of the I think I was the top scorer, or maybe the second or third. I don't recall. Okay, in terms of 3 points 3 points launch. You understand what I'm trying to say? Because since I was a smaller guy, I always played the defense, aggressive defense, and then I was extremely good at on bagging the 3 points. I was really good at it. I'm still good at it. Okay. Last time I played basketball with my nephews, I'm up the floor with them. Okay. And of course, they are old enough to be my children, and they will raise as such. But there I go ranting. And but and I learned how to play those little games, and I also learned how to hack the bloody hell out of that computer. And then when the internet arrived, I also learned how to play around with it. Okay, to see those things that I was not supposed to see. You get my mean? And I pretty much grew up with it, and until and even today, when I'm a very well-behaved person, that I don't do anything illegal, absolutely not. And now I'm not being ironic. I am being absolutely clear. I am still able to look at a computer, to look at someone operating a computer, and instantly monitor and understand ways to hack that computer when that person is not there, if I wanted to. But again, I will repeat this, and I'm not being ironic. I do not do anything like that at all. Completely retired. Okay? But, and then this person, what do they, this was a woman, what does she think? Sorry. Does she think that the Louvre is some kind of impregnable fortress? No fortress is impregnable. Just ask the Chinese in their wall. Did it protect them from the Xiongnu, from the Mongols, from all of the invaders that came? No. It was there just to serve as a dissuasion, okay? To tell them, don't come here. These guys are able to build these walls. They most certainly are able to kick your ass. And in the Louvre, it's the same thing. They try to cover every loophole. And in this case, and I don't know the complete details of it, okay? I just know what I saw in the news, just like you. They used the crane to quickly, but I mean really quickly, lower themselves down to the floor where the jewelry was. They broke the glass, they went in, they took the jewels, they got in the crane and they fucked off. It was extremely quick, but the police officers, they have the crane, they have the surveillance pictures, and more important than that, they know exactly what the jewels are and what they're composed of. If they went to steal these jewels, they have a buyer. And it's when they try to sell the jewels, right now they are going to try to track them down with the pictures, with the video, with the all that they can take in terms of proof from that crime. But it will happen just like when, for example, in London they stole a couple of jewels from in London. Okay, they were displaying in history a couple of the Portuguese crown jewels in they stole. I don't recall. This was a couple of years ago, and then they came to retrieve those jewels when they were being sold. Many I know I don't want it to be lying or deceiving people, but I think it was around 2 years after it. And these things happen in the art world. They have always happened. They happen in the United States, dear friend. Even more than it happens here. Because if you compare the amount of historic artifacts that we have, you have a couple of places in the United States that has it, but more than that, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you are considering those ruined chapels, for example. Like a couple of years ago, a millionaire in the United States that was of Portuguese descendancy or descent of Portuguese, and that he came here and he bought an entire ruined chapel A little thing, okay? He disassembled it here, and he took it back to California or somewhere where he lived, and he rebuilt it in his property. Okay, those are the most ancient historic artifacts that you have in your body country, beyond pre-American civilizations. Okay, pre-Columbian civilizations, all of that. Beyond that, that is those are the ancient artifacts you have, and then you have the things that are in the museums and in private collections. But let's continue. So again, talking about this conspiracy theory, let's talk about the government. Okay, even though the French government has, so to speak, it fell, people continue to be paid, services continue to exist and to function. Okay, no one lost their benefits. No employee of the government working for the government has lost their pay. They continue to be paid. And things like, for example, I don't know, external defense, the military, the borders, the economy, everything continues to work. Because you see, my dear Americans, France, like the rest of Europe, almost all of Europe, okay, we have some unfortunate exceptions. This is so good. France continues to work, continues to function. In France, they have the same philosophies as we have here. Or I should say, because we copied that part of their constitution in 1974, our we our state also continues to work even when governments fall. Just recently, a government fell two times here. Everything continued to work. People continue to get paid. Services continue to exist. Um, every aspect of the state continues to work. What does not work when you have a government that is working just for the job, not acting politically? Well, if that government cannot compromise itself, for example, in things like great public works, that government cannot do things like, for example, borrowing money to build something in the country. This is an example, okay? That government cannot give contracts to private companies up up until a certain value. But for example, compromises like that government already has, like for example, supplying weapons and funds to Ukraine in their war against the Russian BRICS. Okay, they continue to receive that money and those weapons and all of that because we live in a democracy. Okay, we don't live in an autocracy. The Americans apparently you live in a masked autocracy that you call democracy. But think about this: your Congress stopped working, and the state stopped working also. You had military people going into the food bank because they weren't getting paid. That would never happen here. That would never happen in France because each year, when the government starts, even if it falls 2 days afterwards, the budgets for the services they are immediately fixed. It happens here too. There's a yearly budget, and it's but the expenses of the state they continue to work. So again, I really don't understand where you get these ideas from, or I don't know if these people, these American people, I don't know if they are simply ignorant about it. They don't understand how a democracy works in Europe. They think it's the same as the democracy in their country. They think, for example, that when I say I'm a Republican, that means that I am some kind of sycophant like their Republicans. When in fact, In Portugal, for example, everyone is a Republican. We also have a monarchist party. Okay, it doesn't have a big following, but it has some followers. It's a party that exists. But the most extreme left, the most extreme right, the all parties, we are all Republican because we function as a republic. We are more a republic than a democracy. We are a republic that acts as a democracy, but a republic, which means that we elect people that go into a parliament and that take decisions for the rest of us. We elect them in PR, proportional representation. And you, well, you vote for seats. And the thing about that type of voting is this: it's all fine and dandy when you have people with strong ethics. And we, around here, in most of Europe, since we had some bad experiences in the past, except the UK that still continues to hang on to it, we ended that system. We ended that system in most of the cases. Okay, you have to understand each country in Europe is their own case. Okay, but we ended that case in that type of behavior, and we simply did one thing. Okay, each vote is worth something. So political parties vote for them, and the party that has the most votes will form a government. And in France, the president forms the government. Okay, he appoints someone to lead a government when it's needed, or when it's you. I'm not going to tell you about this. Go read the the system of rule in France, so that you understand. And it's not me that is telling you this. And the former prime minister, he could not hold the government. He could not take decisions. He took one decision, and he was unable to negotiate with the different parties. So he's gone. He either resigns or he is removed from his post. And another one comes in, and that person has to negotiate because this is a system of democratic rule, of republican rule. France is also a republic, a system where even people with minority voting have a say, and they can all get together and make their voice be heard. And every time something is being discussed, they have the right and the duty, which is much, much more important, the duty to say something, to defend the interests of the people that elected them, and to defend the interests and stability of the republic. So, where Americans and British, for example, that have these different systems, this is why I'm including the British too, when they look at those systems of rule and they see chaos, we see democracy. Because if something comes up, we have fail-safes to put the state. Number one, as I told you, the state continues to work. And number two, there are fail-safes to make the state work like that. I'll give you an example. During the COVID pandemic, in the very early stages, the, the system, which is the medical staff decide medical questions. They communicate with the administration, the state, and the state takes action to make sure that what the medics are saying is complied with, meaning the lockdown, a lot of things. Okay, the distribution of vaccines, the solving of issues, everything. It was not working that well. So the president in the state council, which is composed by several elements, I won't go into this. I maybe make a video about this to explain you a bit more what is the state council in Portugal. They appointed an admiral, a military man, to simply take over everything. in the name of the Republic. So our COVID uh, response worked because we had a military man completely controlling everything in the name of the state with authority. He only he only answered to to the president and the parliament. No, and in that circumstance, to the president himself and the medical staff. In this way, the medical, for example, told him, we have to lock down this area, we have to do this, we have to do that. The military man said, okay, he would give orders to the police, to our militarized police, which is the Republican Guard, GNR, and the police, which is the PSP, Police de Segurança Pública, Public Safety Police. And this way, everything was coordinated from a single place. And in case of any kind of emergency situation, whatever it is, a natural riot, whatever, okay, we centralize answers. Our democracy has means of clamping down. So much so that sometimes people laugh about this, but in Portugal, the military are the last defenders of the Republic. Okay? They helped us in 1974 to regain it, and they have this constitutional responsibility and honor to defend the Republic. This means if some joker tries to usurp our Republic and install an authoritarian regime, which is not allowed in our constitution too, okay? There is a specific article that the American state does not have, a specific article that bans those type of governments in Portugal, meaning a person that is sponsored by or that is trying to sponsor these types of political ideologies cannot even exist as a political party and elect people into parliament. Okay? This is why when people talk about far right in Portugal, I laugh them off. We have a couple of right-wing populists, which is something completely different. But continue. But so much so that the military, the defend republic. And in France, it's the same saying. Do you think the military would allow anyone to usurp the republic in France? Do you really think that? They would simply take over power, okay, clear up the parliament, elections, and the state would continue. It's as simple as this. It's like all of those questions of not having religion in the state. It's the same bloody same. Even French Muslims are Republican. Even they defend the Republic. You make things too complicated. You take out a minority of a population and you turn it into a majority. You say Britain is being invaded by Muslims. And I think the Muslim population in the UK right now, it's around 4 or 5%. You turn little things like you did with this heist into something that does not exist. Okay? And I think you are better than that. Okay? You have so much access to information. How can you be this stupid? Hmm. You're getting cold, but still good. Now, I told you I would be talking about 2 or 3 conspiracy theories, but I will just address one more. Right now, I hear a lot of videos in the map because as I have told you before, I go deep into these conspiracy theories. I see them and then I talk about them. And one of those conspiracy theories right now is the Mexican government is working with the cartels. Okay, and they are issuing new laws banning citizens from having weapons in order uh, in order to allow the cartels free range on the population. Okay, number one, a bit of history. There are rumors that are almost certain that some of the cartels, if not all, in Mexico were funded by CIA money. Okay, and if they were not funded, the CIA has their hands on it. Okay, because they also did it all over South America, not just in Mexico, which is in North America. Okay, do you understand this, Americans? Mexico is a North American country with a bit of it in Central America. And these rumors, they have become more and more apparent as you unwind the entire story and you see what is happening. And why did they do this? To keep Mexico nice and confusing, nice and corrupt, so that the Americans can just sleep easy at night, knowing that their south neighbor is unstable enough to not pose a threat to them. And given the fact that the United States stole a lot of land from Mexico that was already there, reason why the Gulf is called Gulf of Mexico and not Gulf of fucking America, you idiot. In a way, to control society itself and to control the economy. And over the years, more cartels developed in Mexico. Okay, like any criminal activity will develop in Mexico for different reasons. You know, rich families that want to keep the control over their communities. Okay, uh, criminals that rise up from the lower ranks and want to impose their own in a mobster-like system, like in America with the Cosa Nostra. Okay, it's the same thing, and it's the same thing everywhere. Okay, even here in Portugal we have that. Okay, also. Okay, every, every country has those type of people, and every culture has those type of people. Every religion has those type of people. Okay, it's something that's common to each aspect of human living. Okay, let's continue. And you have these cartels, and they have control, or they have their hands over a lot of businesses, in state businesses, in the police, in the local municipalities, in the states, because Mexico also has states, okay, like just like the United States, and in the government itself. And what I have been seeing from this government is that they are trying to repel the American influence in this matter, and also they are trying to control the amount of weapons that are present in Mexico, and that most of them come from up north. Okay, they are smuggled from the United States into Mexico, and by having walls that limit the possession of weapons in the civilian hands, they are not enabling the cartels. Okay, they are making them more visible. And you will say, well, if a cartel comes into a farm or something, that person will not have a weapon to defend himself, and this and that. Yes, you're right. You are completely right. But the people that go into that village with those weapons, the government will know these guys are the bad guys. And what I'm trying, what I'm seeing here is they are trying to do the same thing as we did here in Europe, where, for example, you can have, and I'm not going to talk about all the countries. I'm not going to talk about Finland, for example. I'm not going to talk about I'm going to talk about in a general sense. In a country like, for example, Portugal, where you and or Spain, where you can have, for example, you can have a personal defense pistol. You can buy a pistol if you are feeling unsafe. You can apply for it and have a weapon in your possession to defend yourself or to defend your property. And you can also have a hunting rifle. Look, when I was a kid, I learned how to hunt. I know how to use a hunting rifle. I know how to use a pistol. I know how to use all of those things. But like I have said often, I gave up my hunting rifle, okay, for a bow and my notepad and later on my cell phone. And I prefer the hunt of the animal, to pursue the animal in the woods and not be detected, and then I take a picture or I draw them. Okay, every crazy person has them has their perk, but I simply don't find it appealing to kill an animal just for the sake of killing an animal. Okay, it doesn't appeal to me. If I want if I want meat, I go into the butcher's shop and I buy some meat. Okay, but this is me. If you like to hunt, believe me, yeah, as long as it's not senseless butchering of animals. Okay, as long as you are not endangering the existence of the animals themselves or endangering other people. If you like to hunt, hunt, hunt. Hunters, at least around here, are the greatest defenders in keeping the species alive and keeping the woods clean and all of that. So there is nothing wrong with it. But and I think they're trying to make that system that will allow the government to easily identify people that should not have a weapon. Because that is exactly what we do here. Here, it's the easiest thing. Because if that person had a weapon, where did he get it? Okay, who sold it to him? Where it comes from? And this is what the Mexican government is trying to do, in my opinion. Okay, they are trying to limit the number of weapons because, like, look, I heard some guy compare what happens in the United States to knife attacks in London or whatever the fuck he was talking about. He was a complete lunatic. My friend, don't you know the difference between a pistol, where any idiot can just point it and shoot and kill someone, and a knife, where you have to get nice and close to someone and slice them? Because I know how to use a knife. I know how to use it. Yes, in that way. And I'm perfectly aware of the difference of using a knife or even a bow or a crossbow or whatever and a pistol. A pistol, you put a pistol in the hands of any idiot, and that idiot can become a murderer, a mass murderer. You put a weapon in the hand of that person can become a mass murderer. You put a knife in his hand, he will be the idiot killing or trying to kill someone until they kick their ass. And knife crimes have also happened here, even here in Portugal. It's completely different. And I keep listening to them, and then they are saying the the Mexican government is working with the cartels. If they said, for example, that there are elements in the Mexican government that are paid for the cartel by the cartels, I would say they are probably right, unfortunately, because money talks, bullshit walks. Okay, but when they are trying to say this, they are either stupid or they are working for the people that are paying for those weapons to get into Mexico. And those people can be the CIA, those people can be arms sellers in the United States that want a lenient weapons law in Mexico so they can continue to profit, or they are working for the cartels themselves that want to keep the weapons flowing so that way, for example, the police stops someone that has, I don't know, a hunting rifle or something in their car, even without a hunting license, and they cannot identify that person as a potential cartel member. Only a hunter that forgot the hunter's license, hmm? Or some guy that is caught with two pistols in his luggage. Oh, he's just a collector. He even without a collector's license. Do you understand? And then I sit like I am here, drinking my coffee, to keep calm. This is a nice mug. I love you. and they keep talking about this shit. I'm going to make a couple of more videos about these conspiracy theories because I find it sometimes hilarious, and then I find it sometimes socially relevant in a way that they reveal how little the American public knows. And I know this is a generalization. I have said this before. I have met American people that were smart, nice people, okay, calm people. They didn't even fit the stereotype of the loudmouth American, okay. But I see a majority of the population believing these things, and that becomes really, really odd and weird. And I'm just going to go ahead. This video is already 40 something minutes, so I'm going to talk about this other conspiracy theory, which is the conspiracy theory that the famous brands that the Americans buy are actually all being built, made in China. Well, especially the French ones. I think they have something against the French. I don't know why. The French helped them, uh, pardon me, helped them get their independence. The French gave them the Statue of Liberty, and they still don't like them. But that is a subject for another video. Okay, first of all, let's start with the obvious. Are there any French brands being built, or at least made, sorry, manufactured, or at least assembled in China? Yes. Are they being sold where? Or where are they being sold? They are being sold in China. Just like what happens in the American market. Well, you don't know this. Okay, I'm going to explain to this. I'm going to explain this to you. For example, there was a famous brand of handbags and high-end and fashion bags and all of that. That has a manufacturer here in Portugal, where the Portuguese workers here they take they let's say they process the raw material, the leather, they give it shape, they do all of that, and then those handbags are sent back to the shop. I think right now they are already making the finishing touches here with where the brand has already someone here and how will we call a quality artistic director, whatever you want to call the person, to finish up the product here and then ship it to wherever it's meant to be shipped to be sold. But it goes to France, and then the mother, let's call it like this, the mother center puts the finishing touches in the product, makes sure it's according to the quality of the product, and then sells it. And after, sorry, allergies. I went on a stroll in the woods yesterday, and I'm still a bit Ah, but it's good. Cleans up the airways. But and then they ship it off everywhere. They ship it off to China, ship it off to the Americas, okay, everywhere. Japan, Korea, wherever people want to buy it. And then they also have a shop, for example, in the United States. I know they have one, this brand. And they do the same thing. They send the products, they have a director there to take care of those things, to make sure that the product is according to the quality of the brand. He makes sure everything is all right, and then he finishes the product and they sell it there. Why? So that the American public can have access to those products at a similar or even lower price than a complete item that will have to be exported to the United States and then sold there with all of those costs. So they send the unfinished product in that shop. They make all the finishing touches. What are the finishing touches? Imagine this, for example, a bag. They send them a leather bag completely made, okay? Minus the brand logos, minus, for example, the finishing touches in the leather, minus the handles, okay, minus a lot of things. The product arrives, they see it, they put whatever they have to put, they make the finishing touches, the quality control. This is why you pay so much for these things. I don't understand it either, okay, but this is how it works. They, I don't understand why you would pay so much for a bag, but that is your thing, not my thing. Sorry, doesn't. And do you finish up those finishing touches in the leather, the purse, whatever, the bag? It's very good. It's according to the quality, and they sell it. And people there buy it cheaper. And then you have the Chinese laughing their asses at you because France does the same thing in China. They send the products there, they finish it in their, in their shops, and then they sell them. Not just in China. Bags from China might end up in Korea, they might end up in Japan, and they might end up in a TikTok shop where some dumb American will see will see a French bag that is, I don't know, $5 less than whatever it was in their country. And they will buy it and they will say, see, they are selling us these things and they are all made in China. And this is the conspiracy theory. And look, are people mad? Are they that stupid? Are they that are they that economically stupid? I said this in another video when I talked about this, but I praise the I praise the intelligence of these Chinese shops, man. They're making a fortune with this shit, with dumb Americans that that want to save $5. Not also good on the Americans, okay, but they are so stupid they don't understand. It's basically the same product, and more than that, the Chinese are also using that to sell their own knockoffs. Almost end my coffee. So they are using this also to sell you fake products, on which some of them are experts. And let me tell you this: even the Chinese government has been working with the Portuguese, yes, also with the Portuguese brands, but with the European brands. The Chinese government has been working with European brands, with Korean brands, with Japanese brands, trying to hit this falsified products market. Why? Because the Chinese government is interested in European and Japanese and Korean brands to create manufacturers inside of their country that will provide jobs and that will allow Chinese citizens also to access those products at a more competitive price to their own market. And it's a win-win strategy. Okay, what is let me tell you this. Okay, you have your favorite brand of fast food. It sells all over your country. It goes to the country next door. That brand will still be the same. But if you compare, for example, this is the example, McDonald's in the United States and McDonald's in Europe, our McDonald's is better. It's not as harmful to your health. The products have to be good. I will tell you this if you don't know it. They use filling, and I don't believe it's sawdust like I had some Americans say. No, it's probably grain, flour. They use filling in the meat that they are putting in your McDonald's. But in Europe, they can only use meat, and that meat has to be according to European rules, meaning no steroids, no chemicals, no shit like that. So what does McDonald's does here? They have processing centers, okay. They have one. I think in Portugal and Spain. I don't know if they have one single processing center that distributes the product, or if they have one in each country. I really don't know how that works because the things get mixed up around here because of the single market. But they have that center, and that center acquires the meat that they need, okay, the flour to produce the buns that they need, all the salad, all of the products. Okay, they acquire those products, and then each shop, each franchising, okay, they have their products, and then they sell you the same product all over Europe. But it's better than yours, and it's a food product. So if you can understand that, if you can understand that if McDonald's is in Europe, they buy locally. Look, just like Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola, Fanta, all of those brands, they do the same thing. For example, they have to produce their products here under the rules of the European Union, meaning our Fanta does not glow in the dark. It actually has orange in it, okay? Or our Coca-Cola doesn't have some shit that yours has. And this to all products. This is why they make it here. This is why, for example, of all of the American companies, the only one that was able to have a moderate success in Europe, and still has because people still buy it, although me personally, I don't like that car brand, is Ford. Because Ford understood the need to adapt their production to the European market in the type of cars that they produced, in the way that those cars uh, acted, you know, the amount of fuel they consume, all of that. And in my opinion, they still consume too much. This is why I don't like Ford cars. But my opinion, okay, my opinion. This is what Ford did. And if you now transpose this idea to these luxury brands, you will get exactly the same result. They are assembling the original product in another country, but that product is still made under under the supervision, under the production of the brand itself. So they are producing those high-end purses, bags, and whatever, and even perfumes like Chanel and all of that. Okay, everything they are producing in there for that market, but it's the same brand that's working. Look, for God's sake, banks. you have a lot. For example, many of our banks have and they have how you call it. They have branches in other European countries, especially ours, because we have a very large immigrated population. A lot of them are in France, for example. I think more than one. I think at least 1 million French are either have Portuguese dual nationality or have some kind of Portuguese ascendancy, okay, and can have the dual nationality too, something like that. So there are a lot of economic ties. We also have a lot of people in Germany, in the Netherlands, in Scandinavia, okay, a lot of people immigrated all over Europe. And so our banks, our traditional banks, like for example the state bank, so to call it, Caixa Geral de Depósitos, CGD, okay, they have a lot of branches all over Europe. Even in America, there are branches of this bank. But it's the same bloody bank. And it's the same with these high-end products, okay? With the Chanels, I didn't want to call, say brands, but let's call a couple of names of brands. The Chanels, the whatever, okay? The Giorgio Armani, a lot of things, okay? But it's still the same product. It's just like your bloody McDonald's. You eat a McDonald's in Texas. You can eat a McDonald's in California. You can eat a McDonald's in Alaska. And if you go across to Canada, it's the same McDonald's. It might be produced under the different rules, no, and it might even be better. I have heard Americans tell me, okay, no one told me. I didn't watch a video, and they said that our McDonald's tasted much better than theirs, and that it didn't make them feel sick. And even though I don't like fast food, okay, first because I always feel sick after I eat it, and and many times it let me be very dirty and tell you, it either gives me diarrhea or I puke it. Reason why I don't eat it, my body simply cannot process that shit. I like hamburgers, but the ones that I make with meat, okay, and not that is still meat here, but I cannot eat it. I don't like the taste. I don't like the different tastes in it. You know, this is me, my personal. But they tell me, those Americans, they told me. I remember a girl, a woman that is married with a Portuguese guy, and she was saying that back home she would eat a couple of burgers, and she would instantly know that she felt bad about it. No, she had issues with her belly. You understand? She felt, or she knew that she would get fatter if would eat all of that. That the taste was very sweet. That the potatoes, for example, were extremely salty. And that around here, she could eat 2 or 3 burgers, and it wouldn't be harmful for her. She wouldn't feel sick. Okay, she would not feel that aftertaste. That's the word I was looking for. That aftertaste of sugar and salt and all of that. No, and our bread, for example, you know this. I was a baker up until my late 20s. I'm the son, the grandson, the great grandson. You know, it goes back countless generations in my family. It seems like I think it was my father or my grandfather that used to make this joke, say that it seems like every male in our family was either working in a bakery shop or fighting in wars. Okay, a very odd, a very odd, I guess, yeah, a very odd pair, but it is what it is. You know, even our bread. Look, when I look at what American bread contains, I get scared. I don't know how you eat that shit. It's filled with crap. Okay, even so-called white bread, okay, that we like to buy here, for example, for what? Look, for example, you buy your regular bread, which is pretty much similar to French bread. Okay, our bread is a bit more rustic in the sense that we like bread that is a bit more rustic. So, we don't like so much butter in things like the French with their croissants and all of that. We like things a bit more mild in that sense, more simple, if you want to call it like that. It's not a derogative term. It's a simple way of explaining this to you. Okay, but we like to buy that white bread too. For what? For example, for toasts, for making quick sandwich to take on a trip. Okay, they are actually good for that. Okay, but that bread, even that processed bread, so to speak, that is made in a factory, it does not have any kind of chemicals that will hurt you. Basically, it has flour, it has water, it has salt, and then it has the preservatives that are food preservatives that your organism, that your body processes. And it might contain a bit more fat than the normal bread, for example, a bit more of calories, but it's still eatable. You can eat it and not get sick. And then I look at some shit that I saw in American bread, and I'm frankly scared. I would be scared to feed my kids in the United States. How can you give that to a kid? And look, I like peanut butter too, okay, and jelly. A nice peanut butter and jelly sandwich is great. I like it. Look, I'm this big and I still like it, okay? Especially in winter. You know, when you don't have any time, don't have time to get a decent breakfast, you make a sandwich and you drive to work and you can eat it as you drive, you know. I like the taste. I always like peanut butter and I like it with jelly. When I was a kid and I didn't believe much in diets and uh, and blood pressure, I would eat it with Nutella and peanut butter. Okay, you know. But these ideas that permeate American society, these narratives that you create, these deceptions, then they reveal to me that level of ignorance that is almost scary. How can you believe in such a thing? How can you believe? Look, this is going to sound harsh, but these people are the type of people that I could tell them, convince them that I'm selling the Arc of Triomphe in Paris, in Paris, in France. I would convince them I'm selling the Arc of Triomphe. You will get a percentage after a year of purchasing your part in the Arc. You will I'm giving ideas to some crazy person. I know it, but after a year of having bought your part of the Arc de Triomphe, you will receive a percentage of the total entry fee into the Arc of Triomphe. I could convince these people to give me their money for for that. And then we wonder, how did Mr. Trump got elected? And if he is indeed a bit sick now, let me just finish the coffee. Ooh, beautiful. And if he can convince them of all of this. And if he's now a bit senile, it's the correct term, and even a bit crazy. I'm not, I am not that surprised that people believe in Fox News. I really am not. After all this shit that I've been seeing, look, and again, Chinese Chinese sellers on TikTok. Thank you for making me smile, man. I laughed my ass off, man. No, there was this pretty woman. She was really cute, a really cute Chinese woman, around her 30s, dressed real smart. She was really cute, and she was smiling as she sold her legitimate French products that were French products. Most of them, I think, at least from those that I saw, they were either extremely well made knockoffs or whatever. Okay, and I was looking at that and I was thinking she must be laughing her ass off. She must be laughing, and you could see it in her face. Like 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 someone saying these idiots are really buying into this. And look, I'm sorry to be laughing. Okay, I don't like your Schadenfreude but this is just funny. It's funny, man. It's funny how people can fall for this shit in these days. And it's 2025, for God's sake. 2025, and people are falling for this shit. You know. Sorry. Well, I hope you like this little rant. I'm sorry for ranting for so long. 1 hour and 6 minutes. Oh God, man, I ranted. But I'm going to publish it anyway because I think I made a couple of good points. I hope you enjoyed listening to me as much as I enjoyed talking with you. I want to thank you all for the increased number of subscribers or views on my videos. You know, I'll make you my personal promise, all of you that are having faith in me, that I will try to continue to have some good contents, try to talk about important things, try to talk about everything. I know I have a lot of people from the UK. I want to talk about more about the UK. I want to talk about more about our our European brothers in the United Kingdom, because the United Kingdom is a part of Europe. It's a part of our history. It's a part of our culture, and it matters, at least to me. Okay, let me say this and be absolutely clear. And I just want to continue to make my videos and talk about things, talk about important things. Okay, this channel, this one, it was never meant as a way to obtain profit. It was just to spread ideas, to talk about things, to hopefully help people, not only just to be entertained or whatever, but also to wake up people to think about different things. That's all. It's very important. My father used to tell me this, that you should never stop. You understand? Never stop thinking. Never stop evolving, even if you are old and falling to the sides. Okay, never stop. Okay, never stop. As long as we are alive, we have a duty for ourselves, for others, for the universe, if you want to call it like that, to continue to move on. And this is what I'm trying to, okay, move on. Well, thank you all for watching my video. Sorry for the rant. Maybe sorry for my ironic laughing. And I hope to catch you all in the next one. Stay safe. Okay? Bye.